Bon. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. The Stanley Parable. Bla bla bla. C'est parti, on lance le jeu. Ok. Je sais pas si tu connais en fait The Stanley Parable. C'est pas l'heure actuelle. Il est pas 6 heures. Il est pas 6 heures et 5. Ok. Je vais enlever la musique de stream. Ouais, ça va. Pour vrai, non mais tu comprends pas à quel point. Ben en fait, j'ai commencé à jouer hier là. Mais à quel point j'attendais ce jeu là. Ah. Hey bébé! Le rideau quand tu vas avoir le temps, s'il vous plaît. Ok, je vais attendre d'abord. Bon. Non, je peux pas. Attendez. Avant de recommencer, est-ce que je peux dire quelque chose? Ben, ouais. Merci d'avoir vraiment réglé. Ben. Ouais, mais Chris, merci d'avoir vraiment réglé l'ordre les 2 fois où vous avez lancé le jeu. Tant de gens ne prennent pas cette étape au sérieux et laissent leur régler sur eux. Ouais, non. Wow, nice. Et vous avez pris le temps d'indiquer leur. C'est reconnaissant. Je sais ainsi que vous vous souciez de votre expérience, votre attention est focalisée sur le jeu. Ah, tu peux pas comprendre à quel point ce jeu-là, il nous tient à cœur. Là. D'ailleurs, je n'ai aucun moyen de vérifier si l'heure que vous avez entrée est correcte. Oh wow. Oui, malheureusement, c'est un jeu payant. En fait, c'est un jeu qui est sorti en 2013. Puis là, ils ont fait un genre de remake avec. Mais pour vrai, si tu veux, d'une certaine façon, je pourrais te faire jouer. Pas directement, mais je pourrais te dire quel choix veux-tu faire. Puis on va comme. Parce que dans le fond, tu vas voir s'il y a plein de fins dans le jeu. Là, il y a du nouveau contenu, mais si tu veux, on peut aller du côté des fins officielles, tu sais, qu'il y avait dans le temps. Parce que ça a l'air d'être vraiment bizarre puis on the side, là, le nouveau contenu. Mais c'est ça, il y a vraiment encore les chemins. Fait que comme ça, tu sais, si tu veux, je peux te faire choisir. Puis tout, il y a les sous-titres puis tout. Fait que c'est vraiment cool. Là. Je vais vous dire, ça a marché. Puisque vous faites preuve de tellement de bonne volonté, la prochaine fois que vous lancez le jeu et verrez cet écran, vous n'aurez qu'à saisir votre heure préférée. C'est vraiment drôle pareil. Mais ouais non, c'est un jeu fait pour jouer avec ton esprit puis ton cerveau là. Pour elle, c'est n'importe quoi. Là. Je pense que si l'intro joue, je vais la laisser justement pour toi là.
This is the story of a
Ouais,
man named
c'est en anglais,
Stanley.
mais il y a les sous-titres.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Pas une
And
job
then
que
one
j'aimerais
day,
faire ça.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions,
Ah,
call a
vraiment,
meeting, or even say
c'est pas
hi.
palpitant là.
Never in all his years at the company.
J'apporterais mon
had
laptop
this
gamer à Minecraft
this
on the side ou
complete
n'importe quoi là, tu sais.
isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oh, je viens d'avoir l'achievement Welcome Back parce que j'ai lancé le jeu hier, puis j'ai fermé, puis je l'ai rouvert aujourd'hui, puis ils sont comme ouais, bonjour. Ok. Fait que dans le fond, là, ça c'est vraiment le début de l'histoire. C'est genre, il appuie sur des boutons, il fait son travail, puis là, le temps passe, il se passe rien, il y a personne qui le contacte, il n'y a plus rien à faire avec son bureau, peu importe. Puis il est comme, qu'est-ce que je fais? Mais le jeu, vraiment, en fait, c'est vraiment un jeu où est-ce que tu fais juste marcher puis te promener. Hey, allô, Octo! Puis dans le fond, c'est ça, tu te promènes puis t'écoutes ce que le narrateur il a à dire. Puis, puis dans le fond, tu peux genre dévier de l'histoire qui est racontée par le narrateur. Je vais chercher quelque chose à manger, j'aurais... Ah, ok, bon. Puis je réexpliquerai s'il était déjà parti, c'est pas grave. Un petit peu... Ah, check, on est encore dans le bureau, fait que no stress, on n'est pas parti nulle part. Bonjour. Fait que, ben, pour vrai, on va...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
What could it mean?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ben, en fait,
No matter how hard Stanley
ça me
looked,
ramenait au
he
début.
couldn't find a
Là,
trace of his co-workers.
Qu'est-ce qui était gardé, en fait. Parce que dans le fond, c'est ça, là, on a fait le truc dans le trou, puis après ça, j'ai quitté le stream, j'étais revenu, mais ça m'a ramené au début, genre. J'ai quitté le jeu, j'étais revenu juste pour voir si j'avais spawn où. Alright, c'est parti. Ouais, ben c'est ça. Fait que je sais pas. Le new content, en fait, si c'est vraiment juste où est-ce qu'elle apporte new content. Fait que ça va être à voir un peu. Puis je sais pas si on peut amener le bucket ici. C'est-tu le safety bucket? Ou c'était genre... Ok, fait que là, ça va tout le temps être comme ça, genre tout le temps sombre avec le... New content. Puis ce qui est intéressant, c'est aussi le fait que... La fin avec le... C'était-tu vraiment une fin? Attends. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire ça, Octo? Ce qui est marqué dans le chat? « 99 messages de plus. » Attends un peu. Merci. Je m'attendais à ce que ça le... Mais je pense que c'était le choix de faire juste le... Chut. Hey, t'avais pas besoin, là. Merci beaucoup. Vraiment apprécié. New content. On va retourner au new content.
You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
En fait, je me demande juste si on va comme refaire l'intégralité de ce truc-là, en fait, là. J'espère qu'il y a du nouveau contenu dans le vieux contenu, là. C'est pas vraiment juste ici, là. Je veux dire... Ça va être ce que ça va être, là, mais... Puis on était peut-être vraiment loin de la fin de ce qu'on avait vu,
on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Ok, on va aller chercher le bucket là pour commencer.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket.
Je reviens, en fait, je vais
You
faire
see,
de quoi, là,
Stanley,
ça va être fait.
anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Reassurance bucket.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Pourquoi? Ok. Hey, en fait, je suis en train de penser, je vais aller au chercher la figurine tout de suite, puis je suis en train de me demander qu'est-ce qui se passe si j'appuie sur G.
Does anyone give out awards for most
J'appuie sur G
enjoyable
avant de
bucket
tomber
in
dans
a
le fond.
video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Tabarnak! Qu'est-ce qui t'excite autant que ça, Octo, là? On n'était pas allé. Il reste une couple d'affaires. Allez. En fait, je vais aller au truc de figurine tout de suite. Attends, ça l'a rejoué une deuxième fois, mais ça dit pas que tu l'as trigger une deuxième fois. Out of... You've been here already. Oh! Wait. Ok, ça a sauvegardé le fait que j'ai ramassé la première figurine.
Tabarnak de tabarnak de tabarnak!
Ok, mais ça l'arrête pas. Là, ça l'a chaud, mais je suis sûr que c'est l'autre fois avant, là.
Now here's something special. You remember
What?
that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you...
Attends, je peux-tu monter les... Attends. Ah, ouais. Il y a un achievement pour ça, anyway. Fait que je vais le faire. Hein? Y'a pas un achievement pour ça? Field of view, je pourrais peut-être le mettre à 90 par contre. Ça disait qu'il y avait un achievement. L'achievement, ça dit... Settings World Champion. Set all the settings slider in the menu to all the available numbers. Available numbers. Je sais pas c'est quoi là. Available numbers. Je veux dire. What?
The achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it...
Je pensais qu'il y avait des... Hey, welcome back. Mais pourquoi... Ah, non, oui, non. Ah, ok, par défaut, il n'y a pas de... Oh, play, Sure. Tour.
the achievement will be given.
Non, c'est en anglais. Afficher les sous-titres. Quoi? Je reviens. Ok. Je suis là pour vrai.
Given to you. It's as simple as that.
Les sous-titres sont pas en français.
Are you restarting the game entirely?
Do I do that? Est-ce que je recommence le jeu?
Non, mais je veux dire. Is that what the game is?
Non, je vais pas recommencer du tout.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified.
Ah, ok,
This
c'est
is
bon.
technology that will
juste,
exist. Right now, the
vague
achievement
de
is still fully
trucs à
broken.
dire
I'm
qui
not
est
a
en
wizard,
anglais.
Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of raven gamers. We hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Okay.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
On va retourner voir le trou sans fond. Ils vont peut-être nous dire qu'on l'a déjà fait. Fait qu'en fait, ça, Fouad, c'est vraiment la deuxième partie du jeu qui était pas dans le 1. C'est tout plein de pépites. Pis de... En fait, c'est souvent des niaiseries, des jokes, c'est de l'humour en général. Là.
Stanley, here's
Joue
an
avec les
idea
nerfs
that
du
I'm
narrateur.
truly fond of.
Il parle fort, right? Hein? Je suis pas le seul à croire qu'il parle fort. Ah. Si je fais ça de même. Non. Ok. Il y a un achievement qui parle de descendre toutes les... C'était correct, ok, parfait. Audio. Je le trouve fort, mais s'il est pas fort pour vous, c'est correct. 5, ok. Je regarderai plus tard.
Or
sur
in a
Internet,
video
c'est-
game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Bon, y a-t-il une figurine ici? En fait, ce que je serais vraiment épaté, puis je trouverais ça cool, j'aurais un minimum d'espoir qu'il y ait du nouveau contenu dans l'ancien contenu, c'est que les figurines se retrouvent là-dedans. Mais pour l'instant, je me demande s'ils sont juste ici. Oui!
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue on. Great! Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Normalement, il y a un fond à ce trou-là, comme on a vu hier. Puis tu peux tomber jusque dans le fond, puis à chaque fois que tu retournes dans le trou, il se demande pourquoi tu y retournes, puis justement, le trou il devient de moins en moins profond. Fait que là, je suis en train de me demander si... Qu'est-ce qu'il va dire de différent vu que j'y retourne.
Okay, and I guess we're back in the hole now. Did you really need to see it again? I don't know what else there is to say, Stanley. It's an infinite hole. It's exactly what you're doing right now, but forever. There really are so many other fascinating exhibits that I've prepared for you. I really spent quite a lot of time on all this, and I would very much like to show you some more of
Le
them.
fond y arrive.
How about we go ahead and press that teleport button again so we can get back to what's really important about... Oh, goodness. Well, this is rather embarrassing, Stanley. I'll be honest with you. I truly did not believe that anyone would actually stay in the hole long enough to hit the bottom. Yes, I know, I told you the hole was infinite, but come on. Who actually wants to fall forever? The hole was plenty deep. It was more than deep enough, in my opinion. Maybe it's you who likes falling too much. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there.
Ah,
I
ça
think we
revient au
both
même
said some
dialogue.
things
là.
we didn't
Ok,
mean.
ok.
Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Mostly. Ils ont changé, right? Infinity Hole, il a changé pour Mostly à cette heure. Ça je pensais. Il change ailleurs aussi. En fait, tout partout ce qui est marqué, il est présenté comme trou infini. Attends, Ah, ok, on peut juste pas monter. Ok. Non, on peut pas sauter dans le jeu. Si vous me demandez la question, là. C'est vraiment. On peut juste marcher. On va aller voir si il va me dire que j'ai fait un mauvais choix, puis. Ah,
Okay,
non.
I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Wow. Ok, ça fonctionne pas. J'ai toujours plus de saut, hein.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Y'a pas rien par là, non? Ok, on s'en va par là.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that... An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the... well, we'll figure that out later.
Ok. Fait que, succès gratuit, non? Tu trouves pas ce que ça en fond par là? Un autre chemin? Allô? Non? Ok. Aucun commentaire, rien. D'accord. Oh, mais il nous reste juste ça, hein? Puis la sortie qui est là-bas. Oh, attends. Non, ok, c'est juste le petit couloir ici. Avec la passerelle. Ok.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Just right. Okay. What is this? You're still alright. I'm scared.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button. Jim. Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again. Jim. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Jim. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away.
No.
Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jim.
Oh, tu peux appuyer dessus quand il descend. Là. Non! Ok. Wow. Is that it? Is that really it? Là? Bon. Je crois que je me suis attendu à plus que ça, mais d'accord.
T'as fini le jeu?
Non, mais il y a un bouton qui dit ton nom, mais là, il est comment? Mais là, c'est juste une démo, fait que le bouton, il dit juste Jim. Fait que là, il est juste comme, il parle son sketch de genre, ah, ben là, imagine que t'es Jim, que genre, tu vis en tant que Jim, que tu te lèves le matin en tant que Jim, que genre...
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable too. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Oh, ok. Alright, bon ben, on s'en va à la sortie de cet endroit. Fait que là, on va savoir s'il n'y a plus rien. On a tout fait, hein. Infinite Hold, Collectibles, et puis Deluxe, c'est à la fin. Office Decoration. Stanley Parable, Versions Bucket, Setting, oui. Merch, oui, on l'a vu. Ouais. Free Achievement qui est ici, mais il va falloir configurer une façon de réparer ou de find a way to get it. This map. Ouais, ok. J'aime comment il y a juste une carte. C'est genre this map. Alright. Sorti. On dirait qu'il est triste parce que je m'en vais.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
I mean, oui. I would have like more, mais c'est correct. J'imagine que probablement un peu plus loin. Oh my god, wow. What is this? New mug. Alright. Bon ben. In we go.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Ooh.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes.
Wow.
Yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Wow. je reste ici pour un petit moment, juste pour voir où est-ce que la caméra nous apporte, parce que dans le fond, il y a une porte fermée là-bas. À moins que c'est une porte qui va s'ouvrir sur exactement ce qu'on voit en ce moment. Puis ça va louper ou on va tourner à droite. Ok, la porte va s'ouvrir sur... Wow. La musique est incroyable, là, je tiens à préciser. Là. Puis j'espère que ça va toujours être comme ça maintenant. Là. Ah d'accord. Ça recommence. D'accord, c'est bon. Ça se loupe.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
On va l'écouter une troisième fois. Hein?
Stanley
Okay,
worked for a
balloon.
company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Okay.
Something that
Non, mais
would
je vais manquer
forever
ça, je vais
change
clore.
Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Tabarnak de tabarnak de tabarnak!
À chaque fois. Alright. Ok. Bon, il y a des ballons à cette heure. Hein?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
J'aime comment que c'est même pas les ballons que t'as choisi, genre, pis ils te les mettent pareil. Ah. Ah.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Woo! Yes! Ah, this is amazing.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No, 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 no. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks. No, I'm still not feeling it. You see, now that you've gotten the bucket involved, my standards have gone up. Merely clicking a single door is no longer enough. Now, I want to see you press this bucket against multiple doors. Now that's the kind of thing that merits an achievement. Why don't you put 20 bucket touches into door 417? Okay, great. Now, go touch the bucket on door 437 a few times. Yes, now we're getting somewhere. How about door 415? Give it some bucket love.
I'm gonna give it some bucket love.
Now back to door number 437. You know, I think the copy machine needs some attention. Why don't you rub the bucket on it a bit?
God, yes. Coffee machine? Where is the coffee machine? Merde. Je pense qu'il est dans l'autre pièce. J'étais juste aveugle en fait. Coffee machine. Copy machine. Ah, je savais que la copy machine, c'était une affaire à cliquer plus
All
tôt.
right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
Mais je me suis dit, ah, ok, c'est coffee machine. Ah, merde, lequel qu'a dit? Fuck. Je pense que c'est 427. 41. Ah, fuck. Je m'en allais à la bonne place.
Okay, now bring the bucket on top of employee 419's desk. Yes, this is great. Now the bucket knows exactly what it's like to be employee 419. Now, let's introduce it to door 416. We've almost got it. Now make the bucket and the copy machine touch again. Finish it off, Stanley. 5 touches of the bucket on door 430. Yes! We did it! Wow! That felt amazing. You know, not all buckets will get this kind of experience. They won't all know what it's like to slam repeatedly against nearly every door in one section of an office building, or what it's like to be employee 419. Buckets may dream of an experience like this, but few can say they've truly lived it. You've given a bucket hope today. Stanley, I'm very proud of you.
Oh my god. En fait, j'ai comme l'impression que avec le bucket et sans le bucket, parce que il parle pas du bucket la première fois, genre quand tu fais l'achievement clairement, parce qu'il n'y a pas de bucket là. Oh my god.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oh, tout le commentaire est différent. Ok. Ouais, mon téléphone est comme genre oui. Moi je suis comme non. Ok. On va essayer de la faire la prochaine fois, courir jusqu'à cette porte-là. Oh, God, ok.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Oh my God, à chaque fois il mentionne le bucket, c'est tata. Ok, maintenant faut que je vois ça avec le bucket là.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Wow.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Oh.
There.
Oh.
Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical
Fuck you, broom
diatribes
closet.
about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
C'est n'importe quoi. Mais genre sans le bucket c'est aussi drôle le broom
All right,
closet,
I've got a
c'est
second
différent.
sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
God, yeah.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Tu l'aimes, ce sound effect-là, Octo? Je pense que ça, c'est le signal de... Il n'y a plus de dialogue ici. Il coûte pas cher. Ben, je veux dire... Ouais, c'est un I guess. Ben, les autres sont-tu comme... Je m'en souviens pas des prix, là. Mais mon système de points, ce serait le fun que genre le monde qui sont haut niveau, genre ils puissent les utiliser genre avec un cooldown, genre ou une fois par stream ou whatever, fait que comme ça, ils peuvent tout le temps les faire jouer puis ça coûte pas rien en fait, tout simplement. Ça coûte d'avoir été là longtemps puis genre clairement là t'as été là assez longtemps pour être genre je pense niveau 7 là, puis niveau 7 je pense c'est très 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 long avant d'arriver là. Ok. Bon. Ok.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh wow. Je me demande si on va mettre des trucs dans le bucket at some point. Ah, a collectible.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Okay, oui. Extreme bathroom. Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money Christmas. Alright. Sure. Ah, on va essayer de faire une fin assez étrange. Oui.
Stepping in.
Ah.
Did you get the ending that you want?
Which one?
Ben, I don't know.
En fait,
Ils se sont fermés dans ta face.
En fait, je vais t'expliquer ce qui se passe. Le truc, la pièce que j'étais, c'était comme tout plein de features, genre haha lol, tu sais. Puis là, ils sont tout partout dans le jeu. Puis vu que j'ai un bucket dans mes mains, le Reassurance Bucket, genre tous les dialogues du jeu, mais genre vraiment tous les dialogues du jeu, puis les plots random font partie du bucket. C'est genre pas Stanley walk upstairs, c'est Stanley when the bucket are going upstairs. Stanley grabs the bucket tight and choose a direction. Tu sais, fait que tout le jeu est comme rempli de nouveaux dialogues juste à cause qu'il y a bucket dans les phrases ou. Puis en fait, la fin que je m'apprête à faire, c'est pas vraiment une fin facile à trouver. Parce qu'en fait, c'est ça, c'est comme un glitch que genre tu recules pendant que les portes ferment. Puis boum, tu peux revenir ici. Normalement, les portes sont fermées. On va revenir au début.
Là, il y a du ragoût.
Mmh,
T'es en train
des bonnes boulettes, moi j'appelle ça.
T'es en train de cuire. Quand ça va revenir, ça laisse le poulet.
Mmh.
Avant tout ça, je mange tabarnak.
Tout ça te met en tabarnak?
Non, j'ai dit avant tout ça, je mange tabarnak.
Ah oui, 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 absolument. You are now leaving.
I am now eating.
Ouais. Ça, pour vrai, c'est une fin qui est un peu.
Ça, c'est une fois.
Ça, wow! Lol, jeu de mots. Non, mais pour vrai, ça, c'est une genre de fin qui est vraiment creepy. Like, what the fuck is this place? Puis le silence du narrateur qui est juste pas là. Je suis en train de me dire, vu que c'est une fin assez dure à trouver. Peut-être qu'il y a un collectibles.
T'avais pris une cuillère ou une fourchette pour manger hier?
Mon dieu, je m'en souviens. Une fourchette. Ma poutine? Ouais, fourchette. La fourchette est genre à côté de la bolle. Mais c'est tout propre, là, c'est tout lavé. Escape pod lunch bay. Escape. Oh wait. Il y avait pas vraiment l'animation la première fois.
Stanley's gonna sit his ass down.
Chut.
Tu m'as fait mal là.
Non.
Je t'ai dit Stanley's gonna put his ass down. T'es comme
Non mais. Emotional moment with the bucket. That doesn't happen. Ça peut just face black. Il n'y a pas de bucket dans le trunk. So everything that is now a thing is new. What the fuck?
Are you sad?
Hein? Sad? Non. Ben, je veux dire, c'est triste, mais comme... I'm not gonna cry.
All of his co-workers were
balloons
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bucket? Bucket? My bucket's really gone now. Is it gone somewhere?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
I
left.
have to find my bucket back. Non, j'ai pas été assez rapide. Ok. Ouais. Ow. Ok. C'est ça, il y a vraiment des nouvelles. Tiens. For finding them all. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Trust.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
are
this
you?
game is for you.
I know, right? Oh, that's actually a room where you can find that. Find the yeah. Follow clues provided by employee 416. We can do it. Red room. Oh my god, this is amazing. My bucket is safe. Good luck. 416. Okay. So the narrator is not with me, maybe.
Hmm? Narrateur.
Non, il est là. We need more planks. Screenshot. You know what? There's too many info to get. Okay, oh god, it just breaks my head parce que le jeu, techniquement, tu sais, c'est un jeu bien normal, Walking Simulator, avec une vingtaine de fins, avec une...
Wow!
Qu'est-ce qui se passe? You put too much? Ben, you just put it too fast. Les bulles ont monté. That happened. Mais mon train of thought, là, c'est juste que le jeu, c'est pas un jeu linéaire, là. On dirait qu'il y a vraiment un genre de hidden lore qui se rajoute. Je suis comme un peu triste d'avoir déjà perdu mon bucket parce que j'aurais voulu entendre beaucoup plus de blablabla par rapport au bucket, là. Ok, mais produce one plank to allow ease. What fence? Construct bridge to allow collect shiny float. Retrieve.
Chris's remain.
Okay, this is breaking my head. Mission status. A large room, lots of boxes. Oh wait. A private but smelly place for... This is the place where all the things are, les figurines. A large room, a lot of boxes, c'est probablement l'entrepôt. Stairs, something to do with stairs. J'ai une bonne place, une bonne capable de place que des marches, effectivement. Somewhere, both red and blue. Ça, je sais c'est quoi. Nearby a fireplace. Fireplace, je sais qu'il y en a une dans le... Ouais. Mais en fait, là-dedans, la 3, la 4, c'est quand tu prends la droite. Non, la 2, la 4. Ok, fait qu'on va essayer les stairs qui sont justement juste là. Nearby a fireplace. Je m'en souviens plus de toutes les fireplaces, mais... Maybe we are the collectibles. Shut the fuck up. Shut the frick up. Oh my god, this is... like, it's deeper. Clearly there's something going on.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
C'est mon truc vraiment préféré, cette joke-là.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Juste trop... il y a des stairs ici, bon.
Another miniature Stanley figurine.
Right.
This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Ah, this is amazing. Ok, mais j'irai pas par là parce que ça c'est une fin où est-ce que genre... la morale de l'histoire c'est que je suis fou. Puis ben c'est ça. Tout ce que je suis en train de faire en ce moment n'est pas réel. Fait qu'on va probablement... oh yeah. Into the fake elevator we go. Bon. Le room, t'es encore ici. Ok. Y'a rien. Ouais, je te crois. C'est bien, c'est correctement agi. Near fireplace.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Si tu l'entres pas tout de suite, puis que genre comme il le répète de
random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct
2,
code
8,
by
4,
sheer luck.
5.
Amazing.
Je pense
He
qu'il finit par
stepped
trouver
into
la
the
clé,
newly
genre,
opened passageway.
Nearby it. Ouais. Je peux tourner à droite, mais... Oh wow, ok.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines. And now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
Figlies.
What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Oh my god. Alright. Ouais, ça tombe bien parce qu'en fait... on va aller par là-bas. C'est un endroit que justement je voulais aller parce que c'est comme une des endroits les plus
Descending deeper into the
breaking.
building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Fait que c'est
It was
bien,
a stirring of
peut-être d'avoir
emotion in his
accès à des
chest,
informations
as though he
assez
felt
majeures.
more free to think for himself.
On
to
dirait que je joue même
question
plus
the
au
nature
jeu
of
où
his
est-ce que je
job.
connais les fins puis
Why
je
did
m'en
he
vais aux
feel
fins.
this now,
Genre, on
when for
dirait que
years
genre, je
it
m'en vais
had
à des
never
endroits pour
occurred to him?
accomplir quelque
This
chose de
question would
spécifique.
not
C'est
go
vraiment
unanswered for
comme-
long.
J'ai peur que je vais brûler au travers de ce qu'ils ont...
Stanley
à
walked straight
m'offrir.
ahead through the large door that read Mind Control
Escape.
Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Everywhere to get stuff.
More, ben, not like... J'ai
The
pas
door
l'impression
behind
qu'il y a
him was not
extrêmement
shut.
beaucoup plus de contenu, c'est
Stanley
juste qu'il
still
va avoir
had every
un
opportunity to
lore,
turn
puis
around and
des
get
nouveaux-
back on
des nouvelles
track.
blagues. L'intégralité
At
du
this
jeu se fait
point,
avec le
Stanley
bucket
was
avec
making
des
a
dialogues
conscious,
différents, avec des
concerted
choses à
effort to
refaire.
walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Hey, t'as quand même l'air d'avoir le stock qui a été ajouté.
Ben c'est ça, là pour l'instant. L'intégralité du jeu est à refaire avec le bucket. Fait que déjà là, ça, itself, it's a thing. Il y a le new content. Tout le blablabla avec juste le joke de du new content. Puis après ça, le fait que le new content, il se retrouve un peu mêlé dans le truc. La question est, où est-ce que le grand trou sans fond est? Oh wow. They redone the place.
As the machine whirred into
There's
motion
more
and
stuff.
Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal
Ouais, c'est une
jaws.
femme qui parle.
In a single visceral instant,
That's not new, though.
Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
That's a quick death. Ouais.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
En fait, il n'y a pas l'air d'avoir rien qui a changé ici pour l'instant. Est-ce que c'est des nouveaux remerciements, des nouveaux credits? Parce que clairement, ça c'était genre... Kevin Britton. Oh yeah, my boy. Salle de maintenance, l'une des premières versions de la salle de maintenance. Mais je vais essayer. Ouais, non, bébé.
Je me suis étouffée avec la liqueur.
Ben, je m'en doutais là. Qu'est-ce que
Ça fait pas du bien.
j'en doute pas non plus. Ça me dépose. Ouais, c'est nouveau ça. Ben, pas nouveau. Ah, ok. Combien de secondes? Information totalement inutile. 15 secondes. Ouais. Wait. First choice, obey, disobey. Puis là, t'as le lounge. Puis là, t'as le maintenance. Puis le confusing ending. Staircase. Mais c'est...
Ça sent bon.
Je sens un peu, oui, effectivement. Salle de compte à rebours. Oh wow. Il n'y a rien de nouveau ici en fait finalement. Il me semble qu'il n'y avait pas de chiffre là, normalement par contre. Intriguant, mais je pense que c'est pas nouveau. Il n'y a rien de nouveau ici finalement.
Stanley pushed the orange lever.
Scène coupée.
When Stanley came to the lift, he traveled upward to the power source at the top of the facility to end this injustice forever.
Ils l'ont juste enlevé. Ok. Alright. Sounds new though.
Dixie Brownie.
Ok. Moi juste m'en aller d'ici en fait.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Bonjour les bébés. On veut-tu jouer?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Hello noodles.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
All of his co-workers were
Ouais,
gone.
on va aller à droite cette
What could
fois-là.
it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bonjour Brownie.
Ouais, hein. Ça c'est nouveau.
Hyper mon bébé.
Replacement bucket?
And try not to lose this one too, you dolt.
Ah. Alright. I'll make sure to save it too later. Okay.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
416, c'est pas ici de pantoute, c'est au
And
début.
here it was.
Faudra
Had
qu'on
the
s'en
bucket
rappelle
turned
la
out to
prochaine
be
fois.
correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Ah, je suis juste pas...
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Oh wow.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Techniquement,
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh wow, il y a un pathing maintenant. Mais ça c'est tellement nouveau de fou. C'est excellent, j'adore ça.
You're
quasiment
getting
triste qu'il y en ait
close now,
pas
Stanley.
plus des
You've
figurines.
nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Ouais, Stanley Greens. Ah, d'accord. What is this? Where is this? Ooh, this is new. I like that. Genre marcher à n'importe où de nouveau dans ce jeu-là, c'est un fantasme. C'est... Mon cerveau, il est juste comme ah, give it me. Non.
T'as-tu lavé le truc à température?
Pas depuis.
Tu l'as pas lavé aujourd'hui?
Non, j'ai pas touché.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Je suis désolé. J'espère que je vais pas devenir immunisé à mes jumpscares. Ils sont moins forts aussi, là, mais je veux dire, il était tellement fort qu'on m'entendait même pas
All of his
réagir.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
I'm sorry.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
C'est juste, c'est fou, j'ai quand même pas l'impression de jouer au même jeu, là, tu sais. En fait, 416, c'est la gate où est-ce qu'il y avait le nouveau contenu, techniquement.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
J'ai pas apporté le bucket.
Wow. Yeah.
J'ai pas apporté le bucket.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
Ouais, c'est un dialogue différent qu'il peut y avoir.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. A cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
En fait, c'est juste qu'en fait, en ce moment, normalement, à cet endroit-là, il est en train de te parler, genre de c'est pas par là, tu sais, il y a une histoire de l'autre côté, puis quand tu sautes en bas sur le bridge, il est comme really? Tu vas vraiment m'ignorer peut-être, mais non. J'ai complètement une autre histoire à cause que t'as un bucket dans les mains, genre. Fait que, c'est de savoir comme les fins s'en vont où avec
No,
ça.
stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless... What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Ça, c'est nouveau. Oh my god. Is this a
Now then,
bucket?
I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm
This
showing you
amazing.
is a
This
bucket.
Fucking amazing.
Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about...
Juste pour être clair, là, tout ce qui a rapport avec un bucket n'était pas dans le jeu. Puis tu sais, tous les chemins que je suis en train de faire là, tout ce qu'on entend à propos d'un bucket, ou genre comme... C'est nouveau. c'est
what
c'est
is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Oh my god, really? Fuck you.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Avec la petite musique d'ambiance.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
Pourquoi? Ils sont tous pareils, esti. Oh, what the fuck.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Jacques va me dire que, effectivement, oui, c'est un bucket.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot.
Correct.
Okay, next one. Is this a bucket?
Mais,
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
how so? Il a même pas expliqué pourquoi c'est un bucket.
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Mais, je peux même pas répondre les deux.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Please.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Alright. This way.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
C'est un tent. Maybe, I don't know. Apparemment, il y a quelque chose ici.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Ok, t'es encore
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ça, c'est des dialogues originaux.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone... Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Je vais juste revenir. Je reviens. Je devrais... Ben, je veux dire, mon riz est cuit, fait que pour l'instant, j'ai pas aimé. J'ai pas goûté encore, mais j'imagine que oui. Je ne doute pas que c'est bon.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ouais.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
Je suis en train de me dire que il n'y a rien de nouveau. Parce que le bucket, il est pas là. Tu peux pas l'apporter plus loin. Fait qu'il doit y avoir une couple de portes à des endroits où est-ce que le bucket, il est comme... Non, pas de bucket. It's a fake room.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Now remembering when Stanley found the collectibles. Woo! Just, what the fuck? Ok, mais... Là, après ça, faut que j'aille dans la room où est-ce que... Le meeting room, où est-ce qu'il y a de l'information, parce que clairement, il va y avoir des trucs à faire, là. Autre que collecter...
Here's where it all began.
Yep.
The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah. And this is when I found this one.
And here was a second Stanley. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways. Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
Oh.
I mean, it was pretty easy because it was this one and then right after boss's office, but... I wonder what happens if you choose the wrong one.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here, under the...
Parce que normalement, t'as des choix. Puis tu peux juste faire, ah, je referai l'autre après. Mais là, pour vrai, j'ai un choix, mais ce choix-là, si je le manque après ça, comme comment je fais pour revenir à ce moment précis-là? Fait que vraiment, on dirait que je mets encore plus d'emphase sur mes choix.
Was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything.
Okay.
Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
No, it didn't, but probably exists as a place. Si j'avais... What the fuck? C'est probablement un vrai endroit, mais... What the fuck? Yeah.
This was the 5th mini Stan, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Woo! Vieille vidéo de merde, ça.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Alright. D'accord. C'est effectivement dans l'ordre que je les ai trouvés. Tout ça, là, c'est dans l'ordre que je les ai
And then,
trouvés.
Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Sorry. Ah. Ok. Je sais pas que je m'en allais avec ça, là, mais... Tu sais, c'est comme toutes les places qu'on était allés sont comme genre toutes linkées weirdly, mais comme... Je me demande s'ils auraient été dans un ordre différent, si ça aurait ramassé dans un ordre différent. Puis la raison, je pense, pourquoi l'affaire de la Pink Room, c'est juste à cause que... Ils ont pas trouvé la façon la plus fluide de faire en sorte qu'on passe par le bureau, puis après ça, tu sais, comme... On continue. Dans ce genre de memory lane... Ligne droite de souvenirs. Là. Bref. Um.
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future.
Oh, wow.
Goodbye, memory zone.
Effectivement.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Wow. Alright, let's go.
Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Il est rendu accro, les comme. J'aime les souvenirs. Je me demande vraiment que ça s'en va. Faut falloir que je retourne. Faut que. Le plus tôt
And
possible.
here's where I made that video. Don't you
Yeah.
remember the video we watched?
Yeah, I remember.
Yes, I love that video.
Woo! Ok.
Ah, la vidéo, moi, j'aime le jeu juste pour la vidéo.
Ouais. Non, mais c'est parce que ce qui arrive avec ça, c'est que c'est fucké, là. Ce jeu-là, tu sais, normalement, t'es comme, ah, ma fin préférée, c'est ça, tu sais, ou genre, j'aime le bout vraiment avec ça, mais. Là, en ce moment, c'est juste. Tout le jeu est cette affaire-là en ce moment, pis c'est vraiment juste. Je sais même pas comment le décrire. Je pourrais juste dire le new content in general. Is
Still
amazing.
don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no
no.
memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
Oh, wow. J'aime comment qu'en fait, il parlait pas de ça. Mais c'est ça qui était marqué. Ça, c'est pas une place dans le jeu qui existe. Ça remplace le moment où est-ce que je suis allé chercher
These
le
really
truc.
were a treat to hunt down.
Un
You
endroit
know,
où est-ce
if
que
there
il
had
aurait
been
pas pu faire
any
une
kind
ligne
of
de
reward for
mémoire
finding all of these,
vide.
it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Oh my god.
Are you gonna go?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Nothing.
Non.
Not even a single word.
Ouais, ben probablement parce que vous faites le backtrack.
Mais
si tu l'avais
ouais, mais c'est parce que dans le fond, c'est ça, ce room-là, c'est vraiment un genre un cul-de-sac où est-ce que tu ramasses la figurine. Fait que je me demande vraiment si je l'aurais ramassé. Je te le. Comme. Techniquement, la figurine qui est là est remplacée par la room rose qui n'existe pas dans le jeu. Fait que je me demande pourquoi ils ont remplacé ça par ça. Puis là, on est revenu à la. 6 plus 6 plus. J'en ai oublié une. J'en ai oublié une.
Ben, t'as fait du backtrack.
Non, mais. Le chef, il. Ah non, ok. C'est bon. Je vais être à 17, mais.
This was our second Figley.
Il y en a
Don't
une
you
autre.
remember?
Je pensais que c'est la
I
première, mais c'est la
remember it
première, tu
too.
vas trouver
The
toi-même.
past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
On a découvert le. Ouais, cet endroit. Oh non. The jumping.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
Encore. Oh my god.
Oh, yes. The two doors! Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
Il y a une porte là.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember.
Please.
I can remember.
Please.
Il y a pas une fin
Yes,
qui est dans un-
I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Il n'y a pas une fin où il est comme tout seul dans un appartement puis c'est full depressed.
Yeah. Oh wow. Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Yes!
What did
The
it mean?
whiteboard ending!
Stanley decided to go to the
Whoa, yeah, okay.
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Il y a même pas de dialogue, genre, c'est vraiment juste comme. Tout le monde arrête pas d'en parler, genre. C'est quoi encore l'affaire Dog Mode? Il est comme pas coché, mais je pense que c'est comme un cheat, là, ou whatever, là, je m'en souviens plus trop.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Son bon éboulet. Yeah. Mon rêve.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Attends, quoi? Non. Non, non, non. Les notes.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Hein? Oui, c'est moi. Hein?
The
Quoi?
elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Back.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself?
Wow.
How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds.
Wow.
Silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Ma faim.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
No way. Mais non. Ah, encore ça. Wow.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Give me that.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
Oops.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Je suis pas assez vite à chaque fois, mais en même temps, je me dépêche pas pour y aller. Merde.
Still no one was here.
Je viens de
Stanley
réaliser un
needed
truc.
the bucket's warmth and comfort.
Aha.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly
Ouais,
to
c'est
his
pas le
chest
speedrun
and
achievement.
entered the door on his left.
Je le ferai plus tard.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Vu que ça fait une couple de fois que je suis déjà allé, ils vont peut-être. Ok, non.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
On va aller sans le bucket cette fois-là.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Toujours aucun rapport.
When Stanley came to a set of
j'ai
two
bien fait de
open
prendre des
doors,
screenshots, par contre.
he entered the door on his left.
Je clique plus que. Faut que je clique plus souvent que ça, mais ça.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Wow.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Ben ouais. C'est con, mais il faut faire ça pour faire la fin rapide, là. Le speedrun, genre, parce que au fur et à mesure que tu y retournes, alors tu rentres dans le bureau, puis juste yeah, whatever. Puis là, le passage secret se lève.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
On me donnait du temps pour me pratiquer, en fait.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals. Aha! You've made it to the bottom of the mind control facility. Welcome! You see, back when the Stanley Parable first launched in 2013, getting to the bottom of the mind control facility was a bug that we simply didn't catch during development. And you all sent us lots of photos of it on Twitter and acted very superior about it. And you're all very, very clever. Good for you. Anyway, when it came time to update the game, we knew that we had to do something about this little goof of ours. So here you go. New content. You can call it the Bottom of the mind control room ending, if that enhances your perception of the value of these updates. Isn't
yes.
that what you crave? New content? Always more content, more content, more. And I'm here to give it to you. I'm here to make it seem like we really covered every nook and cranny of the game, with secrets and Easter eggs. How about this? We wrote a new piece of music just for this section. You won't hear it anywhere else in the game. It's a secret that's just for you. That's how special you are. We call this track, Good Job You've Made It to the Bottom of the Mind Control Facility. Well done.
Good job, you did it. Good job. 3, 2, 1. Good job, you made it to the bottom of the mind control facility. You jumped on the catwalk. You should have been careful. You should have been careful. It used to be a bug, but now it's an ending. Now it's an ending. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to cross this barrier and chase your dreams. But railings don't mean anything. Good job, you did it. 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 Good job, you did it.
Wow. Wouh! Non. Tu peux arrêter de dire ça, hein, ça arrivera jamais.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ah, pas assez vite, quoi?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Mais même ça, c'est pas assez rapide parce que la porte n'est pas déjà ouverte quand t'arrives. On va faire un autre fin de bord. On va essayer de pratiquer. En fait, le passer par-dessus la gate, en fait, là, les passerelles, c'était juste pour comme embarquer sur le pont qui se lève pour être déjà arrivé au fond. Puis même là, il parle pas en descendant la... What?
Whoops. Nope. Never mind.
Yes,
Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Ne... C'est clair qu'il y a plein de choses que je vais manquer, là. Mais sûrement, je vais en stream.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your
wow.
boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Qu'est-ce que t'as dit, bébé? Le plus... Ok.
Eight.
Oh my god, il y a tellement de fins que maintenant je me demande que les fins sont comme différentes.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Attends, mais là, déjà, ça, c'est nouveau, mais en plus, je peux peut-être le faire avec le bucket.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me.
À un moment donné, ce sera pas le boss's office, ça va monter plus haut, là.
Oh my God. It's the boss's office. This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
Oh wait, what? Please hold.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No! No, wait! No! I need more time to process.
Ah! Dans le jeu, tu descends l'ascenseur puis tu t'en vas en bas. Mais là, tu peux remonter l'ascenseur et comme oh, c'est le bureau, il n'y a rien là. Tu redescends, tu peux monter et comme wow, mon Dieu! C'est le bureau encore. Ben, là, ça va. Il faut que je monte. Let's go. Donne du temps d'attendre.
All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley. Of course. Going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling that has grown stale and repetitive.
Je pense qu'il va juste rien dire. Ouais, c'est ça qui...
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting.
Oh my God,
Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow?
Oh my God.
There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know, Stanley, it seems like nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started. But where's the tension? Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate, and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years, and it's really all because of you. You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley. Because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model, you know? People look up to you. Which is why... Oh, I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you, so that you can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better.
Oh!
Oh, good, we're here.
Oh, c'est quelque chose de nouveau! Mais...
Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
Genre, c'est fou à quel point, comme... La première version, là, celle faite sur source, est tellement tout nu et vide. Mais genre vide dans genre le nombre de fins qu'il y a, puis vide dans le genre... La complexité puis les inside jokes partout. Tu sais, le broom closet n'existait pas dans la première version, genre. Tu sais, plein d'affaires. Mais là, oh, c'est tellement plus. Oh mon dieu! Quasiment le double d'affaires. Oh. Là, déjà, je commence à. Avec tout ce que je sais pas, puis tout ce que je sais qui est évidemment là, ici et là. Je suis en train de réaliser qu'il y a bien des fins qui sont différentes à cause que c'est plus Stanley qui se bat avec le narrateur, genre faire comme ah, je m'en vais par là, pis il est comme non, mais il y a une histoire, pis nanana. C'est rendu genre the bucket is doing this, the bucket is doing that. Let's watch some fucking birds together. Woo! Tu sais, normalement, c'est une fin où est-ce que tout explose, mais là, c'est oh, on regarde les oiseaux. Fait que toutes les fins où est-ce que le bucket a son mot à dire, c'est de quoi de nouveau. C'est pratiquement doubler le contenu, là, tu sais. Oh my god, okay.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door. All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling, and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry, you'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for you. Go get them.
Là, je suis en train de me demander si j'aurais pu retourner dans l'ascenseur puis avoir tout ça, mais une version différente avec le bucket. Je pense que c'est le player model. So that's an ending. Okay.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
D'accord. Bon, on commence.
All of his co-workers
Speed
were
run time.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh my god.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Yes, alright.
Here's the door, just go.
Thank you. Ça, c'est assez rapide. Doing great, doing great, doing great. Temps de chargement compte pas. Même si ils sont assez rapides, là. Surtout sur ce beast of a computer, là.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
C'est la partie que j'aime pas ça.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
5 secondes environ que je perds en faisant ça.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley... blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
Got it.
The feeling of liberation. The immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Bon. C'est à ton tour, Octo. Où est-ce que je vais?
Co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
Yeah, this is Stanley's office. J'ai déjà eu ce message-là.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ça marche plus, ça marche plus, je sais pas. C'était peut-être pas celle-là, je sais pas si c'est une affaire de temps, mais il me semble que... Ok.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
La porte de gauche, alright.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Qu'est-ce que j'ai entendu? Alright, c'est parti.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
C'était une fin originale de la première version de Stanley Parable. Assez fucked up. C'est encore le même message.
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Hello? What the fuck? C'est un nouveau, là. C'est un nouveau message, en tout cas. Je pense que la part du téléphone, c'est pas nouveau, mais ce message-là, c'était clairement nouveau.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
C'est quoi? On va aller faire la même fin
Stanley
que t'as
clutched
choisi.
the bucket tightly to his chest
Avec le bucket.
and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever.
En fait, ce que je pense
Perhaps his
que
boss's
serait drôle à faire
office
avec toi,
was
ça
where
tente,
he'd
là, c'est
find.
de
Coming to a
choisir une fin.
staircase, Stanley
Je te
and
laisse
the
choisir
bucket
où est-ce qu'on va,
walked
puis après ça, je le refais
upstairs
avec
to
le
the
bucket. Fait
boss's
que
office.
tu vois une fin, puis après ça, moi, je revois la fin nouvelle avec le bucket. Tu sais, parce que là, c'est ça. Là, l'affaire, c'est qu'il y a vraiment un lore de genre, ah, c'est le bucket, puis Stanley, fait que c'est pas genre Stanley, il essaie de suivre une histoire, puis ça a même plus rapport avec sa vie personnelle, on dirait que c'est...
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he...
Mais vu que c'est une ancienne fin, ça change.
Ouais, ben, je veux dire... Il y en a bien, en fait. C'est la première que je dis que c'est... c'était dans les premières, mais je veux dire, la fin où est-ce que tu t'en vas, c'est la bonne fin, c'est la... Tu sais, là aussi, celle où est-ce que... Tu fais tout exploser, qu'on n'a pas vu à cause justement j'avais le bucket, c'était de quoi différent du coup. Elle était aussi là. Par contre, là, l'affaire pour se sauver, le chemin en dessous juste avant, ça n'existait pas. Il y a plein de trucs qui sont là qui sont pas là, mais avec le bucket, j'imagine que là, au début c'est le même dialogue, là, mais je suis sûr qu'il va y avoir de quoi différent.
taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then... something occurred to
Peut-être genre un
Stanley.
bucket dans les mains,
Maybe,
genre dans la
he
vraie
thought
vie.
to himself,
Oh, no.
maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Could it
Bucket!
truly be? He rushed forward
Where's
from
my
room to room,
bucket?
passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
What the fuck?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Je sais pas s'il va avoir le son.
C'est la tête, genre.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her
Ah, il y a
place
un
of
jeu de mots en
work.
anglais, mais.
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away,
C'est un-
she knew
c'est
what
son
the problem
frère.
was.
Tout le monde
This
dans
man
ce monde-là,
had
il-
Personne
no
n'avait pas
bucket.
de son.
Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a
Aye,
video
aye.
game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass.
Ah,
And
demain,
she
c'est sûr, je joue à ça, je veux dire,
backpacked all the
tellement
way to
notre
work.
capable. Oh my god. Ok. Mais en fait, c'est vrai, ça, j'ai pas pu aller dans l'exhibit avec le bucket, fait que je sais pas ce qui va se passer. C'est un peu plus un exhibit, mais bon ben,
All of his co-workers were gone.
après
What
ça,
could
si
it
tu veux, tu
mean?
peux faire un choix.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting
Au niveau
room.
de ta tête.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Porte de droite, alright.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room,
my god,
and
c'est
Stanley
vrai.
knew
Moi,
it
j'ai envie de
perfectly
faire un choix
well.
après moi.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
Je fasse
just to
ma fin,
admire
un de mes
it.
fins préférées.
Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before. Was it this room? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Je sais, je fais juste.
En fait, Octo, techniquement, là, il y a l'ascenseur qu'il y a là, mais techniquement, on l'a déjà regardé ensemble. Ah, non, pas là. Il me faudrait le bucket, déjà pour commencer, puis ça serait là. Mais c'est pas grave. Fait qu'on va aller ici.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Quand tu me dis si on s'en va là-bas ou on s'en va.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Bon.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Monte
What
en
could
haut,
it
parfait.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wow. Okay. Oh my god. Ah, la confusing ending, là, dans le fond, c'est celle que je veux faire, mais avec le bucket, ça doit être
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Non, c'est ça, en fait, j'ai
Perhaps
fait
he
le
wanted to
leur
stop by the
le-
employee
la
lounge
bonne fin.
first,
Puis après
just to
ça, j'ai
admire
fait,
it. The
la
lounge
confusing
was
parce que c'est un de mes
grand,
préférés,
majestic, perhaps too... But eager to get
Okay.
back to business,
Okay.
Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired
vraiment
years
d'aller voir
ago.
en dessous là, mais c'est ça, il y a tellement d'affaires que genre.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I
And
realize
he's
that
not.
investing your
Pense que le
trust
plot
in
là, en
someone
tout cas, il
else
est
can
vraiment
be
pas ton
difficult,
ami.
but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your
Yeah,
life.
I'm asking for
She's
her,
been
mais je l'ai
waiting.
coupé en a trouvé, je pense.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Normalement, ça c'est pas super clair, mais techniquement, tu peux débrancher le téléphone. Fait que je vais te laisser faire le choix. Je vais juste répondre. Ou, on répond, alright. Je pense que on débranche là, c'est vraiment genre. Je pense que il y avait une fin qui était vraiment triste, genre comme. On va essayer de la trouver à some point, mais je pense que c'est celle-là. Oh my god.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Oh wow. You're in my story now.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
On joue en play 2. 402. Pas capable de parler. Plus N.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
C'est la fin sad, genre que tu parlais de bébé. Là.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
La fin que tu
Now
parlais
he's
de.
pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
On va faire ça avec le bucket après.
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors.
En fait, pour résumer, tout ce qu'on fait sans le bucket, c'est ce qui est techniquement dans la version de 2013, là, celle qui est officielle, là, pas celui qui a été fait en 2010 ou
And that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Très bon. Ça pour préparer le dîner, puis le whoop.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Ah, ça c'était moi au début. Là.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me?
Y a rien,
How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second
Normalement.
he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Pour ne rien remettre en question.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
En fait, je suis en train de me demander si on essaie de ramener le bucket ou est-ce que les deux portent bleu et rouge. Ils vont nous pitcher le truc du bon. Qu'est-ce qui se passe encore? Ok, c'est là. Le bucket.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Oh my god.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind.
The bucket
was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. A cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Ok.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
D'accord.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time...
Tu sais que... Probablement, probablement. Je sais que ce qui va s'en venir, ça va surtout être du Minecraft. J'aimerais ça peut-être faire du City Skyline, là, mais c'est sûr aussi qu'il va y avoir la bêta d'Overwatch la semaine prochaine. Fait que une petite semaine là. Mais ouais, clairement demain je pense que je vais être encore en train de jouer à ça. Puis ben merci d'avoir été là pour vrai, puis j'espère que tout tout se passe bien de ton côté, là.
Time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to...
Merci pour mais... Tu voulais pas les utiliser avec le... My God, ben merci. Oh shit! Attends, quoi? 1K bit? Attends. T'as un badge que moi je vois pas, genre? Au total, en fait, t'as donné... Tu m'as genre donné 10$ en bits, ça veut dire, genre. Ben 10 US, là, mais... Fait que dans le fond, c'est même plus en canadien, en plus, là. Fait que, wow. Et par contre, je le vois pas, le... Ah, ok. C'est pas toi qui l'as marqué, c'est... Twitch, I guess, qui l'a marqué. Mais, je le vois pas. Je sais pas si c'est parce qu'on le voit pas parce que t'es le bit leader en ce moment, puis il prend cette place-là, là. Mais GG. Merci, puis GG. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Puis ça va-tu tout le temps rester là, ça, genre? C'est épique. I hope so. You deserve it. Là. Pour vrai, ce serait le fun qu'ils disparaissent pas. Ouais, le pire que je pense qu'il peut arriver, c'est que... Attends. Dans les tops... Tu sais, en ce moment, t'es le top cheerer, pis t'as 438, fait que techniquement, ça compte ceux du passé. Fait que je serais pas mal sûr que ça va rester, en fait, parce que le truc en haut, normalement, ça se reset. Le GIF sub, genre le plus qui a donné des GIFs, puis le plus qui a donné de bits. Fait que je pense que ça va rester, là. En tout cas, j'espère. Croise bien fort les doigts pour ça. Puis merci pour le sub aussi, hein. Merci pour le resub. Real appreciate. Ah, mais pour vrai, c'est tata ce jeu-là. Pour vrai, là, genre... Je pourrais pas le conseiller mieux, plus que ça, là.
believe the bucket could speak to him.
247B. Je sais pas si ça va dire quelque chose si je fais ça tout le temps. Oh wow. Bien plus bel et grand appartement. Ça respire quoi. Ah, le bucket. Bonjour Stanley, c'est moi ton seau. Appuie sur X pour m'emmener au travail avec toi.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Ok, moi je peux voir le cercle apparaître, mais... Ah, mais non, ok, on va faire du back and forth.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Ah ouais, c'est vraiment juste cette petite partie-là de la maison, normalement, qu'il y a. Ah, pour retourner au travail.
Well, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Pas l'air de l'entendre.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
You gave it to me. Wow.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it. Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Wow.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Attends, quoi? Appuie sur V pour rentrer à la maison, retourner au travail, à la maison, au travail.
Oh no. I'm having feelings. For the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Non, c'est mon bucket. Wow. Retourne au travail, Stanley. Ça va faire loading. Ah. Alright, wow. Intéressant. Oh, c'est ça? Calme. Puis genre la petite musique de genre tu retournes dans ton bureau, là, ça recommence, là. Après une fin, genre.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself. And a good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Oh yeah. This is gonna be amazing.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd
Oh
find
my
this place
God.
eventually.
La confusing
You see,
ending.
your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Woo! On s'en va ailleurs.
Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Woo!
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Oh, wow.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Je m'en souviens plus, c'est où est-ce qu'il dit ça justement l'affaire. Was that addicted to drug and hookers, mais. Je m'en souviens pas. J'aime comment il l'a juste ramené, puis comme s'il était sur son phone en train de. Puis il l'a juste. Avec une qualité de micro dégueulasse, genre. Comment écoute l'affaire, c'est. Oh my god.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
No!
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
No.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket.
No.
And then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Like that.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and crush. The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
C'est fou, tout est nouveau tout le temps. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it... the embrace of an old friend. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Where do I go?
Je sais pas qu'est-ce que t'as fait, qu'est-ce que t'as pas fait.
Il me reste...
Les nouvelles fins que t'as pas faites?
Il me reste 2 trucs à gauche que j'ai pas fait. Puis à droite, une bonne couple d'affaires, je pense. Là.
Oh, ben à gauche.
Ouais, ok. Je vais dans la place bizarre avec le crusher ou je vais à la bonne fin?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Je me demande si je peux remonter puis revenir avec le bucket. I can.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Wow.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Well, he said, the number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Wow. Alright. N'importe quoi, c'est n'importe quoi.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
Qu'est-ce qu'on va remonter?
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
C'est quasiment triste en fait là.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator. Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be? Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life. This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one. There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley Having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
That's sad. My God.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great.
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ça va être la dernière fin de la journée. On va regarder pour demain. Wow. J'attendais vraiment juste pas à ce que ça soit ça.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Je suis en train de me dire qu'avec le bucket, sûrement que ça va être les... ben des affaires à propos de genre... quand ils ont refait le jeu la deuxième fois là.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Juste d'entendre dire le mot bucket, ça me ferait parce que c'est pas supposé dire ça à la base.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Oh my God. Wow.
Ben, tu lis pas?
Ok, je vais lire. J'étais nos boards.
Wow.
Wow, ok.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Ah. Oh mon dieu, poop bucket. Présenter sans commentaire. Alright. Wow. Quoi ici? Pourquoi j'ai pas le bucket dans mes mains par contre? J'aurais aimé ça l'avoir dans mes mains le bucket.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Ah! Le trou infini! Ou pas?
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Wow. Ok, on va en faire une dernière.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps. And not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow. Very lucky indeed.
Je peux pas. Je peux pas le ramener. J'aime cette nouvelle musique en fait.
Stanley took the bucket with him into this little hallway and closed the doors. This was their hideout. No one would ever find them here. Of course, no one would ever find them anyway because everyone was missing. But Stanley chose to ignore this fact and instead focus on how cool the hideout was. Just him and the bucket. Two renegade heroes against the world, inside their secret, undetectable hideout, here, next to room 417. What a treat. Ah, no, apparently not. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Okay. This is day number 295. Tape number...
Ouais, non, c'est la même chose en fait. Merde. Bon, bah. Ouais, je pense qu'on va arrêter là. J'ai une bonne couple d'autres affaires d'idées que je veux faire. Il y a une bonne autre couple de fois. En fait, qu'on a pas en tout touché avec Stanley Bucket, mais surtout avec le Bucket en fait. Là.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ouais, c'était fin là.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his...
5, 6, 7 là, ou 8 peut-être même des fins que j'ai pas faites avec le Bucket, bref. Ça va devoir si je peux aller faire les portes bleues et rouges là. Ouais, bon. Bon, ben, pour vrai, ouais, fait que... C'était le Stanley Parable 2. Si on peut dire, wow, ok, c'est encore ça sur le... That's amazing. Ouais, ben effectivement, je veux dire, il y a pas mal plus de contenu, malgré le fait que c'est basé sur le même contenu que le premier. Mais c'est genre, tu sais, c'est enrichi, là, tu sais, c'est câble, là, j'adore ça, là. Fait que... non, je dirais que ça vaut la peine pour l'instant encore. C'est surtout si t'as pas acheté le premier, genre, ça vaut extrêmement la peine, parce que genre, le contenu du 1, pis peut-être tu peux ignorer la première porte pendant tout le long. Pis dès que t'as pas mal fait le tour du jeu en tant que tel, tu peux juste aller dans la porte où est-ce qu'il y a New Content, pis whoop! C'est excellent. Fait que ça va être ça demain, clairement. Je sais que les achievements que je peux faire, en fait, demain aussi, voir, parce qu'en fait, il y a un achievement qui est de pas toucher au jeu pendant 10 ans. Fait que le moment où je vais choisir d'arrêter de jouer, ça va être pour commencer cet achievement-là. Ça va être dur de pas être touché par contre. Puis de juste jouer au premier. Mon Dieu. Ok, bon ben. Merci à tout le monde d'avoir passé. Merci à Fouad d'avoir fait son tour. On a apprécié. Content de t'avoir avec moi. Sinon, merci à toi pour toutes les bits pour elle, c'est fou. Puis GG sur ton badge de Cheer 1K. Épique. Puis merci pour le resub. On a apprécié. Fait que sinon, demain, ben, c'est ça. On continue ça, puis on va être fun. Ciao, ciao!